Across the sea from one of the most powerful post-classical empires, China was another flourishing empire with its own rich and distinct culture. Heian period Japan was a time of great works of literature and art and revolutionary developments of Japan's culture. Heavily influenced by mainland China, Japan still managed to develop a distinct culture. Japanese elite willing to adopt aspects of Chinese culture, including the Confucian principles championed by the ruling class, Chinese language, Mahayana Buddhism, and the central government structure. However, artistic style and aesthetics in Japan were in stark contrast with Chinese culture. One of the unique cultural aspects of Japan was the Zen Garden. In this episode of Post-Classical Culture, we will challenge ourselves to build a historically accurate model of a Heian period Zen garden.
Over the years, many types of Zen gardens developed that range from completely dry to mostly water. The most common kind today is the Karasansu garden. These gardens were made using rocks and sand or gravel to represent a landscape without a natural source of water. Another common type of garden is the level ground garden, which is constructed on a flat surface and can represent a valley. Most types of gardens are a variation of the Sukiyama garden, which is the dominant garden design in Japan during the Heian period. Our model will follow this form as it was the most prevalent existing type of garden during the Heian period.
There were many important features in the Zen gardens, including hills, ponds, waterfalls, islands, trees, carefully selected stone designs, plants and flowers, wells, and stone figures.
Supplies are balsa wood, felt, fig trees, construction paper, and lots of hot glue. We are going to make a basic Heian estate in the garden, based on a pond. On one side of the garden will be a main building of the estate owned by a high-class lord. These will connect with two pavilions through roofed corridors and end at the edge of the pond. In the middle of the buildings, there will be a sand courtyard, and the pond will have a couple felt islands with one arching bridge.
In Japan, large Zen gardens were exclusively for the elite class. An estate owned by a wealthy lord, termed a Heian villa, would be in the center of the land. To the north would be a garden consisting of rolling hills, rock formations, and moss, simulating a natural landscape. A stream entering the gardens from the northeast would continue past the buildings and empty into the main pond garden located to the south of the villa. This pond would have islands, bridges, and plants. This villa design was prevalent in the Heian period partially because of the highly symmetrical architecture in Japan at the time. The random placements of the islands and the other features were derived from Chinese principles of geomancy, a remnant of the origin of Japanese gardens, which was modeled after Chinese and Korean gardens but made uniquely Japanese. Because Buddhism had little influence on Japanese gardens for the majority of the Heian period, the ideals and purpose of these gardens were strongly rooted in Shintoism and existing Japanese culture. Paralleling the significance of natural objects and the reverence for aspects of nature found in Shintoism, Japanese gardens used features such as stones as symbolic representations of nature. Designs drew from many earlier Japanese stone monuments instead of foreign designs. The added influence of Buddhism also added symbolic aspects of Zen gardens as well as the goal of gardens to inspire reflection and meditation and provoke deep thought. With the finished model of the Heian period estate, we can see the basic layout of an early Zen garden.
During the post-classical era, Japanese gardens formed a portion of social life. Many noble figures built gardens surrounding their estates, and the sand courts between the main building and the pond were used for a plethora of social gatherings and events. Some elements of design even came from the court. overall, this is a fairly accurate model depicting the main gardens and the buildings of the Heian period.
Zen Gardens had an important impact on the culture of post-classical Japan and even into present day. Japanese language developed a complex vocabulary to describe the elements and forms of Zen gardens, and many texts written in that time period and even after show the significance of the gardens. Great works of literature such as The Tale of Genji and The Diary of Lady Marasuki mention the gardens owned by members of the court. There are even entire books on the subjects of Zen gardens, like The Classic of Garden Making by Tachibana no Tsushimi. The legend of Japanese garden lives on today through the continued tradition of garden making and these texts.
In the making of the Japanese Zen gardens, Japan was able to take cultural aspects of China and Korea and apply and adopt them into their own culture. Doing this, they added other complex elements to their already rich culture. In the making of the Japanese Zen gardens, Japan was able to take cultural